Hey friends, followers, movie buffs alike. It is Tuesday again, which means it's time for another episode of Let's Discuss Tuesday. Now, this week, the letter I pulled was N. And I figured let's discuss a horror classic this week. If anyone were to ask you some of the famous faces of horror, if you go way back, you'd have Frankenstein, Dracula. If you have a little bit more modern take, you're going to get your Leatherface, you're going to get your Michael Myers, and you're definitely going to get Freddy Krueger, who is the main baddie in A Nightmare on Elm Street. A Nightmare on Elm Street is a wonderful horror film. When I watch horror movies, if I revisit them, a lot of the times the thrill and the scares aren't always there. But Nightmare on Elm Street is still scary, still suspenseful. The music, the whole atmosphere is scary. And I think it's the scariest one in the series. A lot of people might debate me on that, but I have always thought the first one was the best. You have Robert Englund, you have Heather Langenkamp, Johnny Depp. It's directed by Wes Craven. Wonderful horror movie. Later on in the series, Robert Englund kind of turns Freddy into more of this Joker character. He's still evil, but he's always making jokes. He's always delivering punchlines and stuff. In the first film, he's kind of quiet and he's kind of just sinister and he's just there. He's this monster that comes after you in your dreams. Very scary stuff. But the best thing about Elm Street to me is the effects. One of my favorite scenes is there's a scene where Nancy, the main girl, is laying in bed and Freddy kind of like lunges out of the wall at her and he hovers over her and then he kind of like goes back into the wall. All that was done was by like stocking and nylon and a hole in the wall and he just kind of pressed up against it. Way better effects than most of even today's movies. It looks phenomenal and it's practical. Um, Definitely a very scary horror movie. Definitely a trendsetter. It definitely kicked off a wonderful horror series. Freddy Krueger, definitely a great horror monster. One worth a watch if you're into that. If you're not into horror, I get it. But I definitely wanted to cover a definite horror classic this week. So as always, like, comment, subscribe. I'd love for you to join my page. You guys have a good one, and I'll talk to you later.